Marc McLaughlin is back under contract, and I'm talking about who's playing defense for the Boston Bruins in 2023-24 here on today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoked B. Today is Wednesday, July 12th, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Boston Bruins part of your day every single day. The podcast is free and available on your favorite podcast app. Apple, Spotify, Pocket Casts is what I use. You can also get it on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And we got a huge bump yesterday. So thank you to all who are catching up after maybe taking a bit of a break to begin the off season. Now, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. You can make every moment more by visiting fanduel.com/lockedon today to get started. We've got a bit of contract news to get to off the top, and I'm going to talk about who will be playing defense for the Boston Bruins this coming season after taking a look at projected opening night lines on yesterday's show. That was without Patrice Bergeron in the mix, and hopefully we get some clarity as to his status and that of David Krejci here in the coming days. Before we jump in, a quick reminder, you can find the podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Locked NHL Bruins. Going to get on Threads soon, and you can find me, my dad jokes, and hockey takes at ENC McLaren on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. Let's jump into it. Yesterday, it was announced that Marc McLaughlin had signed a 1-year, 2-way contract with an NHL cap hit of $775,000. Interesting there that it is a 2-way contract, meaning he's not guaranteed NHL playing time this season. McLaughlin, of course, 23 years old, played only 2 games with the Bruins last season, 66 games down in Providence, 13 goals, 17 assists for 30 points. He was originally signed as a free agent by the Bruins in March of 2022. In training camp last year, as you may recall, there was a huge push for him to make the opening night roster. He had a very strong showing at camp and during the exhibition schedule. He, of course, was bumped out because the Bruins had a pretty deep team, but there will be opportunities for him this year to make the jump to the Bruins roster. I talked about this yesterday, how, the bottom 6 is far from set, and McLaughlin as a center who shoots right could have an opportunity to vie for some playing time, whether it be on the right side of the third line or center on the fourth line even. You got to think he would have a shot at playing with maybe Trent Frederic, Morgan Geekie on the third line, or centering Milan Lucic, Jakub Lauko on line number 4. His production was okay last year, 13 goals, 66 games. Would have liked him to have lit the lamp a bit more, raised those point totals. So I would imagine he'll be starting again in the AHL. But he is only 23. He was undrafted. So there's time for some more growth in his game there. But he could very well challenge for a spot at the NHL level. And he'll be up against some other AHL guys in John Beecher, Georgi Merkulov, Oscar Steen, maybe even Fabian Lysell. There's like a handful of those guys who could make the jump to the Bruins next season or who could be back in the AHL. But as of right now, he is re-signed, and that's one less restricted free agent for Don Sweeney to deal with. Of course, there's the two biggies still to sign: Trent Frederick, Jeremy Swayman. Both have arbitration hearings coming up. And then they also have newcomers Alec Regula and Riley Walsh without contracts. Those are defensemen. And Michael DiPietro has yet to sign as well after Brandon Bussey and Kyle Kieser have both signed. So the two biggies coming up, their arbitration hearings set for July 30th and August 1st, respectively. Hopefully, the Bruins can come to some contract resolutions with both Jeremy Swayman and Trent Frederick prior to that time. In terms of cap space, $6.2 million remaining at the moment. And that is with Frederick, Swayman still to sign, and ideally also including a contract for Patrice Bergeron. Like I've said many times, I'm expecting that he will be back for the Centennial season. Coming off a Selke win, it's not as if his game has dropped. He's taken some time. Just welcomed their fourth child into the family. And hopefully we hear from him soon. David Krejci, not as convinced he'll be back, but I could see Bergeron coming back for at least one more season, playing the Centennial year, and going on from there. So that's it for the Bruins news and notes for today. We're going to take a look at the defense and project what it will look like here next season. But first, a quick word from our friends over at Birddogs. Now, I was sent a couple pairs of Birddogs about a month ago, and I literally can't stop wearing them because they are so comfortable. They fit so much better than regular shorts that are made of stiff, restricting cotton. They fixed this issue by inventing a cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki but stretches so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. They use anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. And I wore these a couple weeks ago to a beach. It was a hot day. So comfortable all day long. All you have to do is go to birddogs.com/lockedonnhl and enter promo code LockedOnNHL for a free Yeti-style tumbler with your order. That's this beauty right here. That's birddogs.com/lockedonnhl. Use promo code LockedOnNHL for a free Yeti-style tumbler with your purchase. And I promise you, you will not want to take your Bird Dogs off this summer. They just make your legs look good, and they do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but fit way better. Bunch of colors, styles to choose from. Go check them out right now. I promise you will not regret it. And thank you so much once again for making Locked On Bruins part of your day every single day. Every day is tomorrow on the show. I plan to do a mailbag episode, so please do send in some questions via YouTube, Twitter, hit me up on Threads. That would be very much appreciated. Now, it really seems as though Don Sweeney, his plan for this coming season is to build around the defense. We know that they are going to lose a bit on offense with Taylor Hall gone, Tyler Bertuzzi not in the mix, Dmitry Orlov not there to help guide things from the back end. But they did have the league's best defense this past season, allowing only 2.12 goals per game. Second closest was the Carolina Hurricanes at 2.56. The Bruins allowed 174 goals. Carolina second at 210. So that's a full, 36 goals more than the Bruins. Again, almost half a goal per game. So what the Bruins have decided is that, yes, they had to sacrifice a bit up front, trading Taylor Hall, signing some budget guys up front to fill out the roster in Morgan Geekie, Milan Lucic, James Van Riemsdyk, Patrick Brown, Jason Megna were signed as well. There will be guys, like I mentioned, getting a shot to make the jump from the AHL as well. But apart from buying out Mike Riley, there's really no significant changes on the defense. Apart from, of course, also losing Connor Clifton to the Buffalo Sabres. He signed a well-deserved contract with the Sabres. I believe it was $3 million per season over the next 3 years. And Buffalo is really a team on the rise. Other than that, the top 5 guys are still in the mix, and there will be some competition for playing time further down the lineup. But the top 4, as good as it gets around the NHL, in my opinion. Anchored by, of course, Charlie McAvoy, who will come into the season fully healthy. Remember, last year he was coming off shoulder surgery, wasn't able to play until later in the season. And, it takes time to get back up to full speed, especially without training camp and the exhibition. He'll be hitting the ground running and should be vying for Norris Trophy contention next season. Then you have Hampus Lindholm, of course, the other anchor on the blue line. He had a Norris caliber season, stepping up while McAvoy was out to start things off and just kept things going. Now, he did tail off near the end of the season in the playoffs. He had that unfortunate over the glass penalty that led to a goal in game 6, I believe. He was not 100%. Hopefully he's fully healthy. And those two guys, significant building blocks on the back end for quite some time. Then you have Matt Grzelcyk and Brandon Carlo. Now, Grzelcyk was a candidate to be moved this summer because of his $3.6875 million cap hit. And that still could happen. Let's be honest. There still could be some moves that are made here before opening night. But Grzelcyk and McAvoy, that's a pairing that you want to keep together. Grzelcyk, Lindholm, near the league leaders in plus minus for what that's worth. I'm not a huge proponent of that, but Grzelcyk and McAvoy played together quite a lot this past season and were very successful. 42 goals, 4 when they were on the ice, 17 against, shot differential of 54%, and a shot attempt differential of 53%. Grzelcyk also played a bit with Carlo. They had a positive goal differential, 58.4 shot differential, positive shot attempt differential as well. So those 4 guys together comprise a very solid top 4 that the Bruins plan on building around this season at least. They think we're going to lose a bit on the offensive side of things, so we better make sure things are tight on the back end. That's why they decided to keep Linus Ullmark and Jeremy Swayman, for the moment at least, rather than choosing to trade Ullmark when his value is sky high after winning the Vezina, or not acquiescing to Jeremy Swayman's ask on his new contract and moving him on while his value is still high as well. Those two guys, the best goaltending duo in the NHL last season, winning the Jennings Trophy. They were aided by a very strong defensive effort from the blue line, and largely will be the same guys being deployed here in the next season. Now, there is some wiggle room when it comes to the third pairing, and we're going to discuss that here after the break. But first, a quick word about today's other sponsor, our friends over at FanDuel. And FanDuel Sportsbook is the best place to start betting on Major League Baseball. Right now at FanDuel, you can get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. That's right. All you have to do is bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, whether you win or lose on that first bet. That's $200 you can spend betting everything from money line to over under to who you think is going to hit the first home run of your favorite team's next game. All in an app that's safe, secure, super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on Major League Baseball than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today by visiting fanduel.com/lockedon. Get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's fanduel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, the official partner of Major League Baseball. So when it comes to the third pairing and extra defenseman, looks like the Bruins will carry 13 forwards, 8 defensemen, and you got to think that Derek Forbort, they kept him around, didn't buy out his contract, haven't traded him yet, $3 million for this upcoming season. He has been retained in order to anchor that third pair and also kill penalties, block shots. Those are his strengths. And you can make the argument that perhaps the Bruins would have been better off with him out of the lineup for some of those games against the Florida Panthers. Connor Clifton was in and out. Matt Grzelcyk was in and out inexplicably. Forbort was in for all 7 games, and we all know the result. But for better or worse, they're married to him for at least one more season, as he is set to become an unrestricted free agent next summer, as is Matt Grzelcyk and a couple other guys who are vying for playing time. Jakub Zboril, 1 year remaining on his deal at $1.1375. He's 26 years old now. It's high time they give him some regular playing time. He was limited to only 22 games this past season, 1 goal, 3 assists. You can bet that if he is not in the lineup with great regularity this coming season, that he will not be around in the future because he'll want to go to a place where he can get more of an opportunity. The potential is there. Remember, he wasn't that big of a reach on draft day. He was rated as one of the top defensemen in that draft class. And it's high time that they give him some playing time. Now, what complicates things is that he is a left-hand shot. He can play on the right side. He has done so before. However, the Bruins, most teams prefer to have that lefty-righty pairing. So it could be Kevin Shattenkirk who gets the upper hand when it comes to locking down the third pairing right-hand shot position. The veteran, 34 years old, was signed to a 1-year, $1.05 million contract. And he's coming off a season in which he scored 4 goals and added 23 assists for the Anaheim Ducks in 75 games. He was signed to kind of offset the loss of Connor Clifton. You won't be asked to, add that physicality that Clifton did, but break the puck out a little bit and perhaps contribute on the second power play unit, which is an area in which Jakub Zboril has yet to prove himself. And that should give him an upper hand over Zboril. Now, Shattenkirk and Lindholm, I should add, do have some experience playing together. They played over 300 minutes together back in 2020, 2021. They had a minus goal differential, but 55.8 shot differential and a 51.6 shot attempt differential. So it's even possible that Shattenkirk and Lindholm could play together because they have some familiarity together as members of the Anaheim Ducks. But you're not likely going to put Forbort and Carlo out there. Maybe Forbort and McAvoy sometimes. Who knows? The other guy that's in the mix is Ian Mitchell, who just signed a 1-year, $775,000 contract the other day. Talked about that on yesterday's podcast. He was part of the Taylor Hall trade. He has experience playing under Jim Montgomery from their days at Denver. Like Mitchell, he has some offensive capabilities. He was a second-round pick in 2017. And ideally, we all know that injuries will come up, so some of these guys will be pressed into action. But if you're going to have 8 defensemen, you should have them in and out of the lineup, perhaps. Not the top 4. They should be mainstays, but in the bottom 6, in the bottom pairing, there's room for some flexibility there. Keep some guys fresh, get some guys in the lineup with a bit more regularity, and we could see some interchanging there among the bottom pairing. But those are the 4 guys who will be in contention for that. And if I'm betting opening night, it will be Forbort and Shattenkirk with Zboril and Mitchell on the outside looking in. But that could always change based on injuries and or if somebody really impresses come training camp and in the exhibition season. All right, that ends today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins. McLaughlin signing. Defense largely remaining the same. Some wiggle room in the bottom pairing. And that's it, friends. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check out Locked On Boston Bruins once again. Please do subscribe on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube if you have not already. Free. We'll be back tomorrow to answer your mailbag questions because that's what we're all about here on Locked On Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day. Take care, friends. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Talk to you again tomorrow.